hardcore and 90s grunge, there was a prevailing sense of self-detonation, of burning down the house party before the lights got flicked on. MySpace-era emo, on the other hand, not only had immense star power, but stars who weren't the least bit bashful about being the biggest band in the world. At the 1992 VMAs, Nirvana famously refused to perform Smells Like Teen Spirit. By 2006, My Chemical Romance's dramatic unveiling of Welcome to the Black Parade showed how much the barriers of showmanship and selling out had broken down. This generational shift was due to a lot of things: the rise of social media, a desperate post-Napster music industry, the pull of hip-hop culture, and most of all, this eager new generation of bands. At any date along the 2005 Warped Tour, the kids in Panic, or any other kid with about $30, could have caught Fall Out Boy and My Chemical Romance in their prime, and then seen a side stage band of fellow high schoolers called Paramore out on their first nationwide tour. It was all happening, all at once, and no one knew how far the moment could take them. But in the scene Hayley Williams, Brendan Urie, Pete Wentz, and Gerard Way came from, bands didn't start out expecting to become rich and famous. The music this book is about, whatever you want to call it, early 2000s emo, emo pop, third wave emo, mall emo, MTV emo, Steven's Untitled Rock Show core, fake punk bullshit for posers, can be traced back somehow, some way to hardcore punk, and thus an outsider mentality. American hardcore, bands like Bad Brains, Black Flag, Minor Threat, and Dead Kennedys, started in the late 70s as a loosely connected community of scenes with no link to the mainstream music business. It thrived off the grid in LA and DC, but also in places like Austin, Texas, and Reno, Nevada. Fiercely independent, the American hardcore scene taught kids to self-book national tours and helped spread the gospel of straight edge, animal rights, and an array of leftist politics. It was also extremely violent, and since the only non-punks paying attention were often cops trying to kick the shit out of punks, the scene developed a pretty thick skin to strangers. A flyer for a hardcore show might have included a drawing of a bullet obliterating JFK's forehead, or Ronald Reagan holding up a Butthole Surfers shirt. There wasn't a lot of room for vulnerability here. So about 8 years into the hardcore movement, when a few DC bands got tired of stage diving and built their identities around yearning, poetic lyrics, and performed like they were about to burst into flames, they stood out. People even thought of a word for it. The term emo-core, short for emotive hardcore or emotional hardcore, had been bouncing around the album review sections of publications like Thrasher, and with bands like Rites of Spring and Embrace, the term stuck. These forerunner bands eventually saw their legacies grow as emo gained popularity, but it's hard to stress how localized their appeal was in their day. Rites of Spring, commonly cited as the first emo band, played only a handful of shows outside DC and broke up after about 2 years. Embrace's run was even briefer. They split in 1986, and vocalist Ian MacKaye formed the post-hardcore band Fugazi a year later. The version of emo that blew up in the 2000s has little to no direct connection, sonically or aesthetically, to this first wave. Like most interesting genres, it evolved greatly over time. By the mid-90s, emo's second wave had spread to college towns and medium-sized cities across America and taken on a bit of indie rock melody. Grunge was exploding, but second-wave emo never caught on with normies like its distant northwestern cousin. Some major labels and prominent indies tried to ride the post-Nirvana rush and break emo bands in the mainstream, but the moment wasn't right. Over the decades, records like Sunny Day Real Estate's Diary, The Promise Rings' Nothing Feels Good, Jawbox's For Your Own Special Sweetheart,